Welcome to Fountain of Youth with Andy. Joining me is my dear friend and intuitive healer wellness coach, Amanda Beth. Every Wednesday, we love to share some health tips that we use ourselves and that we help our clients and family and friends out with too with health. And this week I wanted to talk a little bit about sunlight and the potential damage it can do, because that's all you hear about is stay out of the sun, right? And I would love to hear some of your insight on this, Amanda, in a little bit. But me and Minna, we just came back from Panama City last week, and I got to tell you, like, no sunscreen. We're out in the sun. We're in our tank tops, in our swimsuits. We're probably out in the blazing sun for 3-4 hours. And I'm looking at the camera right now, and I'm not red, I'm not dark, no sun, no sunburn. And it is just so funny because, you hear all the time, if you don't put sunscreen, you can get sunburn, you can get cancer and all these skin diseases. And I'm going to share a little bit of what me and Minna does, but I would love your input on that, Amanda, because I know we talked about it briefly last night on a Transformation Tuesday, and it's just crazy on what you hear on one side and what is actually true on the other.
Absolutely. And you were there. And just for anybody who's thinking you were talking like Panama City, Florida, no, you were talking about Panama on the equator.
Exactly. Yes.
So and I was just in Panama last year, and I was absolutely petrified that I would get sunburned because I'm quite pale, and I come from redhead stock, and we burn easily. But looking at understanding so many of the things that I have changed in my life, and then realizing now, a year ago, last summer, I did not even go out and check the mail without plastering, factor 70 sunscreen on my face, my neck, the décolleté, those areas. And I would go out in the sun and I would burn so quickly, my arms and everything. And there's the pregnancy induced chloasma, where you get the brown patches, and it's a hormone response to the pregnancy. And it all came out. It was like all down my left side of my face and my neck. And the thing they don't tell you is this does not go away when the baby gets here. It comes back every time you're exposed to the sun. And I've met with other people when I do the homeopathic remedies and everything, and looked at treating this with the sepia, which is a well-known female remedy that helps women, and it's supposed to help with this. And it's one of those things you only take like once a month, and that's how you treat them. Like, that's never going to do anything. Also looking at, I went keto 4 years ago, and so I cut out a lot of the preservatives and the processed foods and all of those things. I still sunburnt, but then this year, I learned many, many years ago when I was babysitting for a child, and they had a pool in their backyard, and they had sunscreen. That's because I forgot to bring mine. I used their sunscreen, and I went out to the pool, and I burnt worse than had I not done it. And so I learned then that sunscreen, when it expires, it is expired. Do not use it. Don't go there. Don't even. I don't pay attention to expiration dates on most things. Sunscreen is one that I do. So coming into this summer now, so we're 4 years keto, 2 years X39, 2 years with the sepia homeopathic remedy, the clean eating, all of those things coming together, and my sunscreen for my face is expired.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, so I didn't replace it. Good. I haven't worn sunscreen this year at all.
That's amazing.
I'm not burnt. I'm still out in the sun. I go out, I do things, and I have a beautiful tan, just like when I was a little kid.
Correct.
I mean, I would get a little pink and then I would tan, and I was tan all summer. And I watched that in my own children. It's like, oh, and I just, yeah, the concerning of the ingredients that are in the sunscreen, the carrier products, that all the other things, the heavy metals, they're in plastic tubes, they're in,
Yeah,
what are we exposing ourselves to?
exactly. That is so true because, like, on our last episode, we're talking about our skin as our second liver, right? And our bodies aren't detoxing fast enough with the foods that we're eating already. And now we're actually slathering stuff on top of our skin to
To be
even
so
prevent
thin.
it. Yeah, to prevent it from detoxing, right? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like not only killing yourself from the inside out, you are actually suffocating yourself from the outside in. And it's so interesting because, like I said, you get driven into your mind that you always have to wear sunscreen. And growing up, my parents didn't know how to speak English. I went fishing all the time. We never wore sunscreen, right? I don't think I started wearing sunscreen until I was in my 30s or 40s because all your friends say you have to wear it, right? And so it's just like, didn't want to be the black sheep of the crowd. I go and put on sunscreen, but sure enough, I'm still burning, right? But like you said, in these last couple years, we actually met a lady, and she does skincare also, like Minna, but she uses beef tallow in her skincare, right? And then she says, Andy, you have to get rid of all the seed oils, and using natural stuff like butter, beef tallow, you won't burn. And I thought she was crazy, right? Saying like putting beef tallow, it's like you could be stir frying in the sun, right? At least that's what you think.
With the first time I came across the concept of tallow for sunscreen, and I'm like, I don't know that I think I want to use tallow as lotion. If you told me it was something else, I would try it. And then you could tell me what it was, because I'm very particular about my
Yeah.
lotion on my skin or anything. But when you switch to those natural oils, so in the mornings, I have a bullet coffee and I put
Mhm.
coconut oil in it. Well,
Yes.
coconut oil
Love it. Yes.
is, it sticks on my measuring spoon and I slide it off. Well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to waste this. I put it on my
Yup.
skin, and I think the first time that we bought coconut oil in our house, unprocessed virgin coconut
Mhm.
oil, was when I got it for the kids to put my daughter, when she would perform in the ballets and she had to have curly hair, or she had to have this or that or whatever.
Good.
By the time we were done with all the product, because her hair is straight like mine, and by the time we put all the product in to make her look like a curly-haired mermaid, her hair was just, oh, it just felt like straw. And so
Oh
we
my
were
God.
putting the coconut oil in her hair, and
Yeah.
our hands felt so good. And so in
Yeah.
the mornings when I have that extra coconut oil, I'm not going to wipe it off on a towel. I'm going to put it on my hands, you know?
I love it. That's where the difference is. And the funny thing, you talk about oil, uh, good oil doesn't make you fat. It actually makes you skinny, and people don't
Mhm.
realize that. So that, stop eating all the low fat oils, take out the crappy seed oils, the vegetable oils
Well,
and stuff like
the
that.
whole concept of low fat, when you
Mhm.
eat food is either flavors.
Yes.
Flavors are either water soluble or
Mhm.
they're fat soluble.
Yes.
And so when they took the fat out of everything, that was the 80s?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
they took fat, and everybody was low fat diet, low
Yep.
fat this, low fat that. Well, when you take out the fat that is the carrier for the flavors, you got to put something else in. And what did
Yep.
we put in?
Exactly.
Sugar. So you have no fat, but you've got 10 bazillion calories. And so we see, yeah.
Well,
Then they
the
talk about all the fat-free foods. Oh, they label
eh,
it fat-free. That food never had fat in it.
exactly.
Tootsie Rolls are fat-free.
No, it's so true too. And the funny thing with when people don't realize, there are some diets, and I'm not going to call out my friends, dear friends of mine, but they went to like a holistic healing center, right? Not going to call it a holistic healing center because they have done wonderful things. Don't get me wrong. They have helped people reverse cancer, reverse diabetes, amazing, amazing things. But what they call it is the SOS diet. All right. Can you figure what the SOS stands for?
I've got some ideas. I've never heard
Yeah.
of it.
So it's no SOS.
Oh, the oses. Yes.
Yes. So no salt, no oil, and no sugar. So
Oh, I was
the
thinking like the
sugar.
no oses, like
Yeah.
glucose, fructose.
Yeah.
Though
Yeah.
I was thinking those oses.
Yeah. No, but it's like no sugar, no oil, and no salt, right? At all, like period in your diet, right? And they said all vegan, right? So even like when they're eating stuff, they cannot put any salad dressing on it because there's no oil. You're cutting complete oil out. And, this is interesting because a lot of people don't understand there's certain vitamins you need oil to process it, right? KADE, right? KADE. And these things are important, like especially vitamin D. Vitamin E is the antioxidant. Vitamin D has, you can go out in the sun and get vitamin D, but if you don't have oil in your diet, your body's not going to absorb it,
Well,
right?
you need
So
A for your eyes.
exactly, right. And then K, once again, that's linked to longevity, heart, muscle,
All the
you
good
know,
stuff.
and you can't use it if you don't have any oil or fat in your diet. So when she was telling me about this, I was thinking, they do like a 5 to 7 day water fast and everything, which makes sense, right? Okay, if you're taking it all out when you're water fasting, understand. But then it says, oh, when you're back on the diet, SOS, no SOS. I'm thinking, are you freaking nuts? Because you need salts too. You need electrolytes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Now there is, when you go to clean eating, not eating the iodized salt because
Oh,
it
of
is
course.
cut and
Yes.
has so many so it's not just, it's selective in your salt. Make sure it's a
Yes.
mineral. You're taking salt as a mineral, not salt as something that's been cut with all the other
Exactly. But
additives.
they kind of also not just your Franken salt that is, like you said, the iodized salt that has all these caking agents, all this garbage
Yes.
in it. But they don't even take Himalayan sea salt, no Celtic salt. They don't take any salt,
Oh,
right? And for us at home, we got all the colorful salts. We got all the salts from Hawaii. We got blue salt, green salt, volcanic black salt, and they all taste different, right? And like I said, but the beauty of it is they all have different proportions of sodium, potassium, magnesium, all these micronutrients that your body needs, right? So, like I said, there's so many things, and this was a healing facility, right? I can understand if your life depended on it to try to reverse cancer, try to reverse diabetes. Okay, you may have to go to those drastic routes, but for normal people, oh my God, it is just literally destroying their health from the inside out. And it's like when they're telling me this, and I said, yeah, I have nothing to say because this is coming from a prestigious healing facility. They must know because they're doctors, right? So
but when you say that, oh well, they must know they're doctors. How much education in that 4 years of traditional medical training? Now, granted, specialists go on; they do other times. There's how much education, and I'm seeing and hearing, and having been in the Western medical field myself. It's whatever. No, they don't get any dietary guidelines, and they come out with, everybody says they've got the newest, the bestest, the everything diet, and it comes down to, it's the standard American diet. And when you listen to, I've taken a couple of trainings and it's just scary. All of the dietary recommendations are based, follow the money. When they brought out the food pyramid, it was because we had all that excessive grain. That's why the grains is the biggest part of the pyramid. And it doesn't work, folks. Look around you. Look at the obesity crisis. So everything they're telling us is not going to work. And the same dietary guidelines don't work necessarily for you and for I. You have to have some realism in there. If something, like on most diets is turkey, citrus, and soy. I'm allergic to those. There went every diet plan. So I can't do any of those. What works with your body? How do you metabolize it? There are some people who do the vegan diet. They do paleo, they do whatever, and they're successful. And I know when I went keto, everything I read said keto doesn't work for women. It's a bad idea. La 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 la. I love it. I need
Yes.
to be more strict again, but I love it. I feel good. I don't have the
Sure.
pain that I did.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and that whole salt thing. Cut salt out for high blood pressure.
Yeah.
The studies say salt and blood pressure, that only correlates in 10% of the population.
Exactly.
And so then you cut out salt on that other 90% of the population. They need it.
Exactly.
They need that for those electrolytes and things. And so it's just moderation and finding what works for you. And I think the biggest thing is the clean eating. You know,
Oh, for
people used
sure.
to scoff.
For sure. You know, I love what you mentioned about salt, because everyone's saying that salt causes high blood pressure, causes heart attacks, right? But the first thing, you get a heart attack, the ambulance comes, picks you up, they load you into the stretcher or whatever it's called. I'm not a medical person in that aspect. And then they hang a big ass bag of salt that they put into you.
Normal saline,
Right,
0.9%.
it's normal saline, right? At probably 100%, 1,000% of what they tell you not to take, right? And yet they say it causes heart attacks, and yet that's what's going to save your life on the way to the hospital to bring your heart back into rhythm. So, like you said, there's just so much that they tell you which doesn't make sense, and it's exactly what you say. It is sort of following the money. It's following the money. It's all controlled by big food, big agriculture.
The whole cholesterol things. We're talking about fats, the good fats. I have a friend who was that doctor, and I attended those doctor's appointments because I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And I looked at the cholesterol, and the doctor was only looking at LDL.
Yes.
LDL, HDL, and the whole triglycerides. It's not one number. One number is not what you look at. You have to look at the three of them together to come up with a composite. What's the ratio in those? But that takes mathing instead of just looking at the little stars on the report as to what's high and what's low.
Correct.
And they did nothing. And this person was also diabetic.
Yeah.
If you manage the diabetes, the cholesterol is going to come into check.
Oh, yeah.
And if so it's like looking at all these things, and then and then the fact of the matter is all the hormones in your body, everything that regulates how you feel, what you do, all of that stuff, it needs those amino acids that come from fat.
Yeah,
and when
it
you
needs
take
cholesterol.
Out fat,
yeah,
you've got to have that cholesterol. So and then when statins first came out, they wanted this level. And then everybody reached that level. It was just cakework, no big deal. Well, they weren't reaching it. So then the pharmaceutical industry lowered the level. You can't obtain that on diet, but it's also an unhealthy level.
Yeah.
And statins, when you take a statin medication, it blocks your body's ability to make all the good stuff that you need. And so in other countries, when they prescribe a statin, it's illegal to prescribe a statin without CoQ10 because your body can't make it anymore.
Yeah, because it depletes the CoQ10. Exactly.
Yeah, and do doctors do that here? No. No. But and so we knock the cholesterol way down. We put people on statins and everything. What's our Alzheimer's rate do?
Oh, yeah.
What's our MS rate do? All of these things that the body needs those fats to process and to keep us healthy just went out the door.
Exactly. It's always amusing because you're talking about brain, cognitive function, and the brain is mainly made of fat. And but everyone says, "Oh, brain uses sugar for fuel." It says, no, it needs fat for fuel.
It needs the complex carbohydrates.
Exactly.
The carbohydrates that metabolize into something other than pure sugar.
Yes. But it is so cool because you mentioned about the lower LDLs, and you mentioned Alzheimer's and dementia and stuff like that. And I read a study lately, and they said that everyone that has, Alzheimer's, stage 4 dementia, which Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, any type of brain condition like MS, the LDLs are 50 or below. And I was thinking, that is insane. But I have people, bragging, wow, my LDL's 50. I was thinking, well, guess what? I guess you're going to get Alzheimer's soon. You know, it's crazy, but the doctors think that's a good number, right? And then
because that's what the studies show. And I guess, you know, in college, I had to take research methodology for my degree.
yes,
And the one thing that I took out of research methodology, and this sounds horrible, is that when you're doing research, you keep crunching the numbers until it says what you want.
yeah,
You
you
didn't
make
get the
the
right
result
thing. Then
exactly.
you redo the study. You make it bigger. You make it smaller. You
You take out the
so
variable that's skewing the results. You
yeah,
know.
which then kind of disputes the whole ethics in research.
Yes,
But you know, that's kind of in, you know, you ask somebody a yes no question because you want them to help you make an answer. If you
right,
want a yes, you keep asking until you get enough people to tell you yes.
exactly.
That's what it is. And I, yeah, yeah.
You know,
Western
and that,
medicine has a small place. Heart
you know,
attacks, broken bones. Yes.
exactly, and that is so interesting because if you look at the funding, who funds these researches, then it all makes sense why you need so much drugs, because most of the time it is funding of the drug companies or the big foods that are funding this, saying this is the problem,
Mhm.
right? So no, it is so true. But you know, coming back to the sun, because like I said, we're going to talk
Oh,
about the
yeah, we're
sun.
talking about sun today.
You know, sun, you know, and there's so much research that we are uh, photosensitive human beings. Like we're powered by light, right? We're powered by frequencies, right? And you know, of course, the sun is not only a source of light, but is also a source of ultraviolet radiation. It's actually frequencies, right?
Mhm.
And you know, it's funny. You know, I think we should spend more time out in the sun when you can. And of course, don't go out in the middle of the day when it's at the hottest. You know, I haven't tried staying out there for 2-3 hours at the hottest. Maybe I will sunburn, maybe I won't. I'm not quite sure yet. But you know, personally, like me and Minna's, like we cut off all the junk food. We cut out all the seed oils, at least cooking at home. You know, if we're going out to eat,
Mhm.
well, you probably still
It's
can get
hard
a little
telling.
of
Yeah.
it. You know, you can't get rid of it completely. But like I said, when we're in Panama, we're out in the sun, and I thought for sure we get sunburn. We didn't wear a hat. Weren't wearing, you know, I was wearing short sleeves, shorts. I was getting the maximum sun. And we come back and I was like, I don't even know if I'm any darker, you know. And like you said, we are like at the equator, you know, there's a lot of sun.
Yeah.
It was freakishly hot. I can tell you that.
I don't know, it was freakishly hot here in Iowa last week, you know, heat
It's, but
indices
you
of
know,
106 and 108, and I was outside in the shade. But yeah.
exactly.
Ooh,
But you know, there have been a lot of people that, you know, that did sun tanning wrong back in the day. Maybe it's because they put on too much suntan lotion, and then they're
baby
getting all,
oil, baby
yeah,
oil.
exactly. Right. And you know, you start getting like the sunspots, you know, the age spots. You're getting all this hyperpigmentation, a lot of these wrinkles. Um, you know, what are your thoughts on that? Like what would some remedies you would recommend for that? Are there any homeopathic uh pathic remedies for stuff like that?
There are,
Okay.
and when we jump into homeopathy, we jump into skin,
Mhm.
and different skin disorders, different things. With homeopathy, there's so many different remedies, and one remedy does not work across the board. I mean, some of
Mhm.
the acute care things do, but just looking at skin as a whole, there's a remedy out there that does work for people who have sebaceous cysts.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
you take one a day, every day for your one dose a day, every day for a week or 2 weeks, and the cysts are gone and they don't come back. You know,
Wow.
there's things for psoriasis. So there's different protocols,
Mhm.
and it's you really need to talk to a homeopathic educator or practitioner,
Right.
someone who can, because homeopathy is going to look at the symptoms. It's
Mhm.
not looking at the diagnosis. The diagnosis is something that you got from your healthcare practitioner or
Mhm.
whatever. That diagnosis is may be right, may not. There's a
Mhm.
whole bunch, but as a homeopath, we look at the symptoms. What are your symptoms? How does it work for you? And that helps us look at how to do things. Like in the repertoire book, there are 140 pages of teeny
Wow.
tiny little print about headaches.
Wow.
What brings on your headache? What makes it better? What makes it worse? Is it before eating, after eating? Is it between this time of the day and night? There's 140 pages about a headache.
Correct.
So that we can tease out exactly what is the best for you. And most people don't have just one symptom. You have a headache, you have an upset stomach, you have a back pain, you have, whatever else going on. And so we're going to look at all of those things to find out what you need to have. And
Nice.
I've had incredible results in getting rid of migraine. Someone who has migraine history, and this was day 4. I came across her day 4 for migraine. She had taken maximum migraine medication she could. She had injectable migraine medications, and it still wasn't going away. And I'm like, oh, stay right there. And I asked her a few questions. I came home. I brought 3 remedies back to her, and I said, okay, take, so many of this one.
Yeah.
And I said, if your headache is not gone in 15 minutes, then repeat it.
Correct.
And she's like, okay. And in 15 minutes, she's like, I think it's gone, but she was afraid it maybe wasn't. So she took another day. Migraine was gone. 4 days with a horrible headache that nothing touched. And within 20 minutes, it's gone.
That's amazing. And I think that's really why, I so enjoy our talks on Wednesday, because like I said, there are so many natural ways for a lot of these health conditions that people reach right away for drugs, right? Or reach right away nowadays. It's, me and Minno we're joking, we're talking about the dangers of AI, and AI are taking away the doctors, right? Like everything is like you basically call a virtual person that basically has studied all the books doctors study, and they will give you a prescription.
Yeah, they could compare. But you would, so get back to topic, because I'm horrible about this. I make a freight train, take a dirt road with these conversations some days. My recommendations for skin, good skin.
Yes.
Hydration. You've got to be hydrated. That keep those cells, when your cells are hydrated and you're working well, then your body can also take those toxins out of it. Your skin is absorbing anything you have. So be aware of what you're around. Keep your skin clean, not necessarily with antibacterial soaps, because if you do that and you're scrubbing we have good bacteria, E. coli, staph, all of that stuff. It's present in your body.
Correct.
It's only when you're sick that it, becomes a problem. But don't wash all that good stuff off. Be outside, be around people. When that was one of the things that we saw during the lockdown. People didn't get exposed to anything. And so when they did get exposed, they got sick, really sick, because they didn't have that day-to-day challenge of your immune system. Cigarette smoking is very, very, very detrimental to your body. So when you're worried about your skin, it's hydration, don't smoke. And if you don't know how to quit, find a way to quit. Find a way. And once you quit, don't pick it up again, or you're going to be right. It's like with alcoholism. You're right back where you were. So reach out, find some supports. There's some great stuff out there to help you quit. But it has to be your idea and not somebody else's. And then avoiding alcohol.
Yes, that's what
alcohol is it dehydrates you. So does coffee and tea. So, keeping your hydration up and really taking good care of yourself. And what are you feeding your body? Your skin is your largest organ. And we forget that, because it's everywhere. We forget it's an organ. It is its own system.
Exactly. So true. I love all your tips. You're mentioning alcohol, and sure enough, where we're staying, it was all you can drink alcohol and everything. And it was tempting. I guess if I had more friends, I might have had more Mai Tais, margaritas, or whatever. But, being in Panama City, you mentioned you were in Panama too. A lot of their fruits are locally grown. So all their juices are freshly squeezed. So me and Minna were just drinking the juices throughout the day. And it was funny because we're saying, man, this sucks. It's not you know, there's not much taste, but you actually tasted it. What sucks is it wasn't sweet, right? You know?
Well, just you take a bottle of Coca-Cola here in the States and
Yeah.
a bottle of Coca-Cola in Panama and in all the other countries.
Yep.
It
Totally
is
different
not
base.
the same. It is
Yeah.
not the same. There's not as much sugar. They don't sweeten everything, and you're
Exactly.
eating it fresh and appreciating it. You know, I just went out and picked another colander full of tomatoes today. And you know, when you have your own fruits and you've bought from the farmer's market
Oh,
rather than the grocery store, you know, support your local
yeah.
growers. They want big, beautiful produce too, but they're
Yeah.
probably growing it because they don't want it to taste like Miracle Grow.
Exactly.
And you can tell. You can
Oh,
tell,
totally. So,
you
we're
know.
staying hydrated of all the local juices, which is nice. But, you already tackled all the stuff not to do. So, I want to share a little bit of things, what happens if you have damage, or even maybe to prevent having damage a little bit. And, of course, both me and Amanda, we are LifeWave brand partners. And there you go. She's got the X39, and the X39 so amazing. And this is so interesting because I was wearing an X39 and a glutathione here like throughout my whole trip, right? And of course, X39 uses your own body's light energy to create, GHKCU, which will elevate stem cells. But what it also does is it elevates collagen and elastin, which takes away all these wrinkles. But one of the things that was really cool on the GHKCU, people that might not notice, and I don't know if you caught Sherry talking about it, one of the cool things that GHKCU is it's supposed to prevent sunburns, right? And I don't know if it's true or not. I've been wearing it for about 2.5 years and I haven't got sunburn. But what was interesting is like I was wearing one here and one right behind the neck, like where we normally put it. And I would thought I would have the round burns, right?
I look for those burns too, especially when I wear them back here and
Yeah. But with the
have my
sun
hair up.
shining
Yeah.
in on everything, I thought for sure I'm gonna be branded with circles on it. But nothing, it is sort of crazy, But like I said, the X39 is great for repairing, any type of damage that you have. And especially like we're talking about previous damage, maybe from sunscreen, or even other conditions, like you said, a lot of skin conditions, stem cells, boosting your collagen, your collagen and elastin is definitely going to help. And then, of course, the other one we talk a little bit is the Alavida, right? And the Alavida is another really good one that you use during your sleep, right? So we actually use this one and then Minna's Coolness skin cream at night to sleep. And, it just takes away a lot of the wrinkles, a lot of the blemishes that, a lot of people, I was talking about hyperpigmentation or those acne scars, right?
Mhm.
The Alavida seems to really help lift those away, right? Like the X39 does great, boosting the elastin and the collagen, but it really, our experience is the Alavida actually is the one that takes away those dark scarring from acne and, those pimples that you had to pop as a
Well,
child.
you had to, it's a requirement.
Right, but then it left these scars on you for like decades, right? And now I used to have so many, but I don't have any scarring at all. You don't even think about it until you're looking for it, right? So, wow, that's sort of cool, like why did it disappear in the last 2 years? What did I do differently? Maybe it's the
Maybe it's the
LifeWave product,
patches.
right?
Yeah.
Never know, right? So it's amazing when we talk about LifeWave, like you can tell both me and Amanda, maybe me more so because I introduced it to her. We're very passionate about the LifeWave products because one, it's all natural, it's non-transdermal, there's no drugs, and the beauty of it is it uses your own body's light and heat energy to activate it. So to us, it's always a win-win. We're both helping people holistically with their health, right? And we want people to have their bodies heal from the inside out, right? I think that is very, very important, especially like you said, nowadays, so many things are being hidden in our foods and our, water. It's getting hard to eat clean. Like you're like me, we probably try to eat clean. We reverse osmosis, everything. We're trying to eat clean cooking at home, but it's only as clean as the products that we use to cook or drink. And if it's not coming clean, if we're not pumping our own well water and stuff like that, we're still sort of stuck at what's provided to us to clean the
Right.
best we can, right?
Yeah. Well, and
So,
then, just even pumping your own groundwater, there's just I live in an agricultural society, so
mhm,
it's real. I would question my wells. But there's so many things. You're talking about the acne.
yes,
I worked at the doctor's office and we did microdermabrasion, which is sandblasting your face. But
yes,
as you got that off the tissue, and I worked with a lot of teenagers who just had that chronic cystic acne
oh,
and stuff.
horrible.
And the prescription medications were failing them. But
Hmm.
when you know what to do to treat your skin,
Hmm.
microdermabrasion, that was sandblasting the face. There's no medicine, no nothing there,
Hmm.
but it allowed the body to heal from the
Right.
inside out. And so there's all kinds of things that you can do when you start looking. You look inward to see what you need and what's missing and what your thing is. And you're talking about reducing fine lines and wrinkles.
Hmm.
Um, I've earned every one of mine, but there are some of them that I would really rather they not be there.
Right.
And so don't get hung up on yourself in looking at things. And when the same office that I worked at, we did the microderm. She did Botox injections. She did
Hmm.
permanent cosmetics. And when I would talk with people and I would meet with them for their consultation, it's like, well, what bothers you? What is it
Hmm.
you see? Well, for me, these are the wrinkles I don't like.
Hmm.
But yet, when I would look at them, I'm looking at their whole face. And so
Correct.
remember, when you're worried about these things, when people see you, they're looking at you. They see your whole face, your
Hmm.
whole, they aren't looking at, your grandma wings or whatever you want to call them. They're looking at you as an individual. And
Correct.
so be authentic, show up, take your space and take care of yourself. And it's not whatever you just saw on Facebook's reels last week. There's so much that goes into everything. And if you're not feeling good, if you step into a new diet or a new something that you're doing, if you're not feeling well, listen to your body. Don't force yourself to stay with it. Sometimes when we talk about with the X39, sometimes
Yes.
our body's doing that retracing or
Hmm.
detoxing.
Yes.
Reach out to the person who put you on whatever your new program is and ask them, is this normal? And if they're going, no, 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 that's your warning. That's
Yes.
your big red flag. Your body was the first one, and them not knowing what they're talking about, that's their second one. So yeah, just really take care of yourself and listen to your body. Your body will tell you when you tune out the Facebook reels and you tune out
Hmm.
all of that crazy chatter. And what
Yes.
is it that you need? You did not need that bowl of ice cream at midnight.
That's why I don't stay up to midnight anymore, or I will grab for that bowl of ice cream.
The comfort food. And sometimes it's a matter of, and as an intuitive healer, I've helped a lot of people with addressing what is it that gets them hung up on why they feel they have to eat, or
Right.
what is that comfort food doing for you? What's the belief behind it?
That's so
You
true.
know? And so just there's so many things out there. Do your research, do your due diligence. If you're on Google, check 10 sources. Make sure
Mhm.
that they agree on what you're doing. Do your research. You get one body in this life. Take care of
Exactly,
it.
exactly. And
Take care of it.
and I think it's just so important, like reach out to us, right? We always love to hear back from you how we can help and support you for any type of health conditions. Both me and Amanda, we're usually here every Wednesday. It's something, a new partnership. I just love the energy we bounce so well. But we're also part of the Chronic Health Collective, where we got 12 other coaches that spans right across from mental healing, relationships, manifestations. There's energy healing. There's just so much more that we can provide and help you with. So if it's something that me and Amanda doesn't have a solution for, hey, we got the network. We got you
We're
covered.
connected. We are
We're
connected, and we're gonna find. And I don't think anyone would call you or I and say, "Hey, I've got this," and we'd go, "I don't know." find the yellow pages. We're not going to. We're going to say, I don't know. Let me look into it for you. Let me help you find what works for you, because
Exactly.
I'm not everybody's cup of tea. You may not appreciate some of the things that I do. My first thing is to respect you where you're at and what your goals are. And then we're going to see how it can be achieved, whether it's with me, with Andy, some of our Chronic Health Collective coaches, or somebody else, because we know people outside of those realms too.
Exactly. And of course, if you guys want to learn more about the LifeWave patches, the X39, specifically the Alavidas, make sure to reach out to us. All our contact information's right underneath our names there. You can reach me at chronicallyhealthylife.com. And Amanda, where can we reach you at?
AmandaBethHealing.com. If you do /Linktree, you'll see all of my connections.
I love it. It's so funny. We should know our websites, and yet we're looking down.
Well, I was looking to see what was there. What's there? Yeah. AmandaBethHealing.com. That will. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for everyone for joining us on this week's Fountain of Youth. We got sidetracked a little bit, but I tell you, it's because we're just so passionate about what we do with helping people across the board. And when we bounce off each other, I tell you, we can bounce off to a totally different topic, but I guarantee you everything that we talk about is for you, for our audience, and so please reach out to us. If there's some questions that was not answered about sun damage or what to do about sun exposure, please reach out to us. We're happy to.
Ian, we talked about what to do about the sun damage. So if you do get sunburnt, if all of this catches up with you and your body's still going to burn, if you get a sunburn, my favorite tip is, one, get out of the sun and cool it off.
Yes.
One of the quickest ways to take the sting and the burn out of it is to put white vinegar, just white vinegar out of the kitchen, that stuff you use to clean and season your food. Put it on your sunburn. For me, it's usually shoulders here. Put that on. Just take a washcloth and dab it on your skin. Get your skin cooled down. Go in a cool shower. Flotation, saltwater soaks do help sunburn as well. Of course, I'll plug that there. But get that skin cooled off. If you have blisters, then you don't have a mild sunburn. You have a first-degree burn. Leave those blisters intact. Cover that skin, because as soon as that skin pops open, you now have exposed skin and you're open for infections. So keep that covered up there. I have not played with that yet, but
I just have to do a shameless plug for Minna's product. It's like I'm all about the longevity, the functional health. She's all about the natural skincare, and with her coolness skincare, she had, and this was, we're on Wednesday, it's Happy Hump Day. And she says, when it's Wednesday and you age 5 years since Monday, thank goodness for coolness. I just had to plug that in there.
And then, once that skin is cool, that's when you start hydrating it up.
Exactly. And we're excited.
And read the labels. I know Minna's labels they're golden. They're golden. But if you've got some stuff on the shelf at home and it says aloe is probably about the last ingredient. It's not really aloe. It's all the other stuff in there. So get it cool and then start hydrating it. And as it starts to peel, don't peel it off. Don't peel it off, because you're just exposing new skin that's not ready for the harshness of the reality. So cool it off. Ice packs, vinegar. White vinegar has been my favorite go-to from when I used to burn.
Sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Amanda. Once again, reach out to us if you have any further questions about anything and everything. But we'll see you all next week.
See you then. Thanks, Andy.